Welcome to Delphine Circle in Harmoneum, where conscious conversations spark transformation. I'm your host, Delphine Channels. Let's jump in. Next up, we're joined by Lauren Del Sarto, founder and publisher of Desert Health, a trusted voice in health and wellness in the greater Palm Springs area where I happen to live. Lauren's vision 15 years ago was a publication that would encourage consumers to be their own health advocates, starting with lifestyle choices and the practitioners that they choose to help guide their health and well-being. Through her work, Lauren has reported on both advanced medical technologies and the growing trends of natural holistic healing. Her recent piece on the food as medicine movement highlighted a truth many cultures have known for centuries, that what we eat can be one of our greatest tools for healing. I'm excited to explore this with her today, not only from the perspective of nutrition, but also from the lens of someone who has had a front row seat to the evolution of health and healing and conscious living. So welcome, Lauren.
Thank you, Delphine. So happy to be here. Wonderful that you're doing this.
Yay! Well, I'm so happy to have you because I love your publication, as I think you know.
Why, thank you.
I'm a brand ambassador because out here in the desert, this is our Bible for sure. It's our go-to resource. Everybody I know reads it. So I'm so appreciative of what you do. And I'm so excited to have this conversation because in your recent article on the food as medicine movement, you talk about this idea that it's finally going mainstream. From your perspective, give us a hint. What does this food as medicine really mean, like basically in our everyday lives?
You know, one of the reasons 15 years ago that I started this publication was to elevate the work that naturopathic doctors were doing because they were prescribing food and supplements to heal versus medicine and pills. And their industry's been, 100 years. So when I say that it's starting to go mainstream, I say that because while we've written it for a very long time, while it's been taking place, USA Today came out with a 72-page supplement on the food as movement medicine. There's now a great conference that is teaching doctors how to prescribe and how to incorporate prescribing food into their daily practices. And it's attended by practitioners from all over the world. We've been lucky to have it here in the desert for the last 2 years. The Plantrition Project, Plant-Based Nutrition Healthcare Conference. They've now changed their name as of 2026 to the Power of the Plate, which I think is great because this concept needs to be simplified for everybody to grasp and take hold.
Absolutely. And so of all the stuff that you've seen, because you've seen so much, why does this one feel different? And what's so particular about this movement, do you think?
Yeah, it feels different because now doctors, hospitals, even medical schools are starting to embrace it, right? Medical schools are finally starting to incorporate more nutrition into their curriculums. Hospitals are starting to prescribe what's being called MTM, medically tailored meals that are specifically made for a patient's specific diagnosis, heart disease, diabetes. And there are nonprofits that are actually going to doorsteps and delivering the prescribed meals to patients. So it's so exciting to see the scope and finally that the top medical community is really starting to embrace it.
And it's like funny to even hear you say that because you would have thought this was, something that should have been done a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I know, Dr. Casey Means and her now famous report to Congress saying that in medical school, she never took one nutrition class and she went to Stanford and was the top of her class. So
Right.
That was kind of sent shockwaves, I think, through the system. But, ancient cultures have always used food as a primary form of healing. What other aspects of ancient wisdom are you starting to see come across your desk?
Oh, well, boy, think about it. I mean, and it's not starting. For 15 years, we've been writing about grounding, getting out in nature, going barefoot, eat more vegetables, the power of spices. I love how that's really coming to the forefront because, again, in Eastern medicine, spices and herbs have been used as medicine forever. what other things? Grounding, I absolutely love. Meditation,
Yeah.
mindfulness, all of
Breath
these,
work.
breath work, yes. All of these simple, simple practices that are now really garnering the spotlight, and it's really exciting to see.
So, because so many people come to you for your guidance, and I know you're not a medical doctor, but you've been around for them for a long time. Give us a hint. What's one simple change that people could make today that could be meaningful, have a meaningful impact on their health, maybe related to food as medicine or some simple techniques?
Sure. And, unfortunately, Delphine, it often takes someone getting sick to change their ways, right? And so I would say the simplest 3 words to change someone's life is to understand that sugar is the devil.
Mm,
Just stop eating so much sugar. And when you're conscious of this and you start looking at what has sugar as a primary ingredient, starting reading labels, you realize just how much sugar we consume. And so, stop with just, you don't need to eat desserts. You stop eating those foods, you'll stop craving them. And we know that sugar is one of the primary causes of inflammation. And we know that medicine is recognizing that inflammation is the cause of most chronic diseases. So I really think that's a very important place for people to start.
oh my gosh, girl, you hit the nail on the head on that
Yeah.
one. And it's so funny too, because I just had my blood work done and, everybody will be very happy to know I am super, super healthy, except for I had this major spike in my LDL. And, my doctor immediately is calling me and she's like, let's get you in for a CT. I'm like, wait, what? Like what? So of course I pulled out my reference guide, Chatty GPT. And I said, what could it be? Everything else looks perfect. All of a sudden I've had
Yeah.
the spike. What could it be? Well, sure enough, the first thing that Chatty said was sugar intake. And I've never really correlated the two with like a high, raise in cholesterol, but
Yeah.
I stopped drinking recently. And so when I did that, my sugar cravings went through the roof. And of course, I'm like justifying it like, well, I'm not drinking. Who cares if I have a little ice cream? I'm not drinking. Who cares if I have? And sure enough, I have been eating a lot more sugar because of that. And so, a perfect example, right? It's like I would not have thought that, but here it goes right on the blood test.
And people don't know that carbs turn into sugar in your body.
Yeah.
So that bagel, that toast that you think might not be sugar actually turns into sugar in your body. So the low carb diet is a real thing because it's tied to the reduced sugar intake element of nutrition. So that's an important one. And yes, when you give up alcohol, don't you crave the bread? And
Yeah.
that's a sugar replacement, right? So yeah.
Yeah. There's always something you got to be watching. Okay, so let's talk about what are some of the other trends that you're seeing because it feels like there are so many things that to keep up with anymore, right? It's like there's what are you seeing? What should people be paying attention to? What do you think is really maybe making the mark?
Yeah. Now, one thing you said is really important is there's always something, right? And I think it's important to realize that when you start to understand how food can heal and how food can fuel you, and if you start consuming nutrition with that in mind, then your body is going to start to crave those healthy foods.
Yeah.
So you're going to get rid of the sugar cravings. You're going to get rid of the carb cravings. And your mindset isn't going to be like, oh, I can't eat that anymore. And I'm hearing this, you're just going to be drawn to the broccoli, to the vegetables, to the foods that really do fuel your body because they're doing good. And so that's a really important thing is it's easy to say like you did, oh, there's always something to pay attention to. But I tell you, once you change your mindset to look at food as fuel and start eating that way, it becomes very simple. All
Yes.
those things, and what's good and what's bad, your body starts telling you. You don't have to listen to the resources around you.
My gosh,
No.
that's so true.
Yeah.
In the coaching world, we have a practice that I often say, and that is to always ask yourself what is most loving to me. And I've transitioned this to my food choices. When I
Yeah.
go, even sitting down with a menu, I'm like, okay, I really want those waffles, but what choice is most loving to me? And it always guides me towards something that's more nutrient dense. And once I eat it, I'm super happy, and I'm not disappointed that I didn't have that other thing that was the shiny object that was trying to
Yeah.
attract my attention. But just asking that question, which of these things is most nutrient dense, which is my body need the most, right? Such a simple
Exactly.
concept.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Stevia is a great example. That is a healthy sugar alternative, and people are like, "Oh, I don't like the taste of stevia." Because I use it, I don't eat sugar, and I use stevia in everything from my coffee to my morning shake, green shake, my baking, everything. I crave stevia. That's how easy the change is, and it's nothing but a leaf, right? It's a sweet leaf, so a great uh, sugar substitute and a great example of how your body really can change when you start giving it what it needs and loves.
Oh, so true. Have
Yeah.
you tried the allulose? That's kind of my big thing right now.
I have not. What is the basis of it?
So it's also derived, and I'm drawing a blank right now of what it's derived from, but it's naturally derived. And it not only it tastes delicious, it tastes like sugar. You use it equal parts, but not only does it not have the sugar, but it actually reduces the glucose in your blood. So it actually regulates sugar. So if you're actually having any other something sweet or carbs in your meal, it will actually help to regulate your blood sugar. So
Oh, isn't
super
that
cool
interesting?
stuff.
Huh.
Yeah, so many new alternative sugar choices out there that people could be looking into, which I
Right,
love.
right.
So give me a little bit of a hint about your daily routine, because I know that you are such a healthy person, and now there's stuff like, grounding and being in sunlight and seasonal eating and stuff. Are these things that you're incorporating, and are you seeing people around you taking more of these types of healthy, more natural approaches?
Absolutely. And I think the greatest growing trend is meditation, right, Delphine? Meditation and mindfulness. And you see this with the rise in sound baths, with breath work, the number of people who are transforming their mind and body through therapeutic breath work. Um, Grounding, absolutely love. Who doesn't love going barefoot, right? I actually built a beach in my backyard. So my mom calls it a sandbox, but I call it my beach. It's got two Adirondack chairs, and it's my grounding spot. And you just, keep watering it to get those electrons moving. And it really is a grounding spot for me. So having those spaces that are available in your everyday life that you can easily gravitate to when you just feel a little overwhelmed or need to just calm down is real important. We wrote a great article about creating a wellness room, and it doesn't have to be a whole room, but if there's space in your house that you can just put a yoga mat or a blanket and a pillow and candles and things that are easily accessible, then it really elevates the amount of mindfulness and wellness that you can incorporate into your day.
Gosh, girl, I love this. I'm loving your
Yeah.
tips. I did the same thing. I built my little sandbox in the backyard. I do call it a sandbox. But I love it. I go out there, I sit, I meditate, I ground, and I do think it's super important. One of the things I've been thinking of, and I haven't quite figured out the science behind this, or I don't want anybody to trip on it, is to get copper rods. They say copper rods are super good for grounding. So I was thinking about putting some kind of posts of copper rods in my sandbox. So I'll look into that and report back and let you know how that works out. But yeah, super, super excited to do more of those types of things. And even just the importance of being out in sunlight, we're learning so much more of the power of sunlight and being
Yes.
intentionally taking it in. We've been trained that sunlight was bad for us somewhere along the way. We believe that. And there's definitely, you don't want to stay out there forever, but a little bit of sunlight every day or as often as you can get it is really a beautiful thing for us, right?
Oh, no question. And so good for sleep, right? So many people struggle with good sleep. And um, Geraldine Brosfield, a local integrative doctor here, I think gave such great advice in a talk. She was saying, just spend the first 20 minutes of your day with your eyes unfiltered to the sun. And of course, many of us go out and walk in the morning. So just leave your sunglasses at home. Get that natural sunlight because it helps build your natural melatonin. And it can really, doing that in the morning can help you have a better night's sleep. So I'm a firm believer. And yes, I built my sandbox in the furthest corner that gets the last afternoon sun. So for that reason, so it could get that benefit as well. But absolutely.
Well, speaking of misconceptions, I'm happy that we're starting to debunk the one about not getting any sun. What are some other biggest misconceptions? You must hear a lot of them come across your world, and so much information that you guys consume and release. What are some of the bigger misconceptions that you've heard, either about maybe food as medicine movement or natural remedies in general?
I think the biggest, when it comes to food as medicine, I think the biggest um, challenge back and forth is which foods. Is it a vegetarian diet? Is it, a paleo diet that's heavy in meats? And I really think that there's no one answer, right? That one is not better than the other. I think that's the biggest misconception. I think everybody will agree plant slant, as the Blue Zones calls it, is necessary. You have to eat the 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, and nobody does that unless you consciously do that. So it's not a natural thing. So I think that the misconception that there's a diet that is the perfect diet doesn't really exist. I think that you need to find what works for your body. You need to understand that the power of plants and to research, know, number one, know your body, and number two, know what your body needs, right? Some of us do need meat and heavier protein. Some of us don't. So I think that as far as the food as medicine movement and the misconceptions, the biggest one being that there's one diet or nutritional guideline that works for everybody.
So well said. Very, very good. That's a great point.
Yeah.
And I love the plant slant. I hadn't heard that term before,
Yeah.
but I love. I want to bring up the point about the blue zones, that Palm Springs has
Yeah.
now been officially designated a blue zones, and I've already seen a lot of the bike paths and stuff that are going in.
Yeah.
Tell me what you know about that and the blue zones coming to a city near you.
Yes, we actually met with them in their planning process. We have a column in Desert Health that's Blue Zones Community News, where they give us updates and give the community updates on what they're doing. Just met with the new executive director of the Palm Springs Project yesterday. And the neat thing is, so there, it's a 3-year project for there's 5 cities in Riverside County, with Palm Springs and Coachella being 2 of the 5. And the reason they did that was we've got 9 cities in the valley. They figured if they got one on each end that it would kind of bleed through the whole valley, and that indeed it is. And the CV Link, which is open spaces, one of the policies that they try to incorporate, is a fantastic example of that. On Friday, we go to their first Blue Zone certified restaurant grand opening, or celebration of the certification. So they're looking to get restaurants to incorporate healthier Blue Zones inspired items on their menus. They're going to be looking at getting grocery stores to put healthier foods in the checkout stands. They're working with schools to there are many here because 10 years ago, we had the Clinton Health Matters initiative here for 5 years. And we were the first region that they launched with as well, and kind of doing the same thing, changing policies, procedures, government to build larger spaces, to change food in the schools, to incorporate activity and nutrition into daily lifestyles, to create purpose for everyone, especially our seniors here in this community. And that's a purpose of the Blue Zones as well. So they've got the Power 9, and Plant Slant is one of them. Wine at 5 is another. So it's a neat program, and it's neat to have their influence and activities here established and growing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And anybody that is going, what the hell are you guys talking about? What are blue zones? It is a book, and they're the places on the planet that have the longest longevity longevity and
Lifespan. Yeah.
lifespan. Yeah. So a great book and a great movement that's turned out trying to encourage more cities to adopt lifestyle practices that are good for us.
Enhance
So
longevity. Yeah.
yes, I love it. I
Because,
love it.
it's not about living longer. It's about living better
Mm-hmm.
longer. And
Yeah.
that's really what people need to focus on is what am I doing today to help my tomorrow be healthier?
And I think what everybody was so surprised at was the importance of socialization, right? Like how much we are interacting with people. If you have people in your life that you connect with, who care about you, that check in with you, and a community. And that's one of the things. I think Your Belinda was the one in California that made the original list on the Blue
Loma
Zones book.
Linda.
Loma Linda, because
Yeah,
that's where the
Loma
medical
Linda.
center is.
Yeah.
And I think it was the religious community there that kind
The
of helped
Seventh Day
really spike
Adventists.
there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So very,
And it's
very
because
cool.
they're vegetarian. So they're very vegetarian,
Mm.
but they also have a very strong sense of community, a very strong faith,
Mm-hmm.
and they have many, many communal activities. So that my 86-year-old mom went to one of the Blue Zones purpose workshops, and she loved it. They really opened her eyes to why you can't sit home, why you need to get involved, finding your passion that keeps you going, and why that's important, and really opened her eyes to quite a bit. So it's little things like that that are amazing. And they call them moais. They have walking moais, art moais, and that was a Japanese term for groups that get together to support each other. So they're really incorporating a lot of those into the community, which is just fun to see.
I am so excited to see more of that roll out in a city near you. Uh, okay, so back to our discussion. With so much stuff coming out, what do you use to determine whether a modality or a pack practice is truly helpful versus just trending? Because again, there is so much, and I'm sure people are going, it's hard to really know what to do or where to go. Do you have any kind of criteria that you use or that you recommend?
Well, for all of the editorial, Desert Health is an educational publication, but it's consumer friendly. But it's doctors and practitioners who submit the editorial. So we require that all facts are footnoted, referenced. So the science behind what's being written is very important. So, number one, what's the science behind it? And that's why attending the plant-based nutrition conference, now the Power of the Plant conference, was phenomenal. And this is Dean Ornish and Furman and Michael Greger, and really the leaders in the food as medicine movement, presenting the science on why these things work and how food can affect your body. And so definitely the science behind it, but also how old is the information? How long has this been practiced? Most of the things that truly work have been here for hundreds of years, right? The use of light for healing, the use of connecting to the ground for healing, the use of plants for healing. So longevity, I would say, of those practices, as well as the newest science behind it. And the great news is that more universities and medical practices and individuals and foundations are now putting the money behind really studying those natural elements and how they affect your body, which is new because if it didn't make money, funding was hard to come by. So that's changing, and it's been wonderful. So it's exciting to see. It really is. Because, and how did we get here, Delphine, right? We got here because the agricultural revolution made flour and a lot of foods that were now processed easy and accessible. And we all know processed food these days has gotten to a whole nother level of unhealthy. And then the pharmaceutical industry, which made medicine so easy, accessible, and take a pill and it will heal your every illness um, has gotten us to a pretty sick place. And I think that why we're going back to nature and to those things that have healed us for centuries is because of how these new revolutions in the last 100 years have gotten us to a very bad place.
Yeah, it's like the pendulum that swings, right? We
Yeah.
went so far in the way of processed foods. I don't know if you've seen the thing that's circulating on the internet where the guy took a Big Mac and just set it out on the counter, and months and months and months, and every month he would open it up to take a photo. It looks identical. It has not molded. It has not deteriorated in any way. So
Wow.
talk about the preservatives that must be in it. And so then this one guy in Japan said, well, let's do a challenge. Let's do two. So one guy in Japan did his burger. The other guy did his burger. The guy in Japan, his burger immediately turned moldy within 1 month, the American one. And so now they're 4 months into it. The Japan one, you can barely even recognize it's so deteriorated. The
Mhm.
American one still looks like it was the first day. So there's definitely something we've got going on in our country with preservatives and stuff that is not necessarily happening around the world. So I appreciate what you're saying. And I think it is time for us to really just take things more seriously than we have.
Yes, and I'll tell you, and I just spoke to a doctor yesterday who studies quite a bit and speaks in China, and she was talking about, um, well, she's all about glycinate and the, you know, the Roundup and different chemicals that are in this field. But a good example of how those are new introduction to countries like China, and how now their populations are starting to see increased Parkinson's, increased neurological diseases. So, yes, additives to the food, additives to our environment, while many of them started in the United States, they are unfortunately going worldwide. But because of everybody's existing awareness and starting to, it's easier to then react to what they're seeing medically, right? It's like, wait a
Yes.
minute, what's the change that we've seen here? And it's the addition of these elements, and McDonald's, and you know, you'll see it in different countries where you see, oh, it doesn't make sense.
No, it's so true, and you're, I mean, glyphosate is probably one of the worst, right? It is probably one of the
Yeah,
worst things that have happened to our health industry. And Dr. Zach Bush, I've heard speak recently, and he's a huge proponent for understanding what we need to do about replenishing our soil and the use of glyphosate. And I mean, we all just have to just be pissed off and say, no, we're not going to stand for this anymore, because it really I think we've forgotten that we are as powerful as we are. So I appreciate you bringing that point up. That's
yeah,
super important, I think. But another thing I wanted to ask you about, because I just happen to know that you also have a company, Good Vibes, which is a beautiful floating sound bath experience that I've done more than once. And you've got a long list of people lining up for this experience. Let's talk a little bit about the idea of sound healing and how what kind of an impact that has made on the global movement of learning how to relax and take charge of the frequency of our bodies.
yeah. The biggest surprise I think that we saw from our floating sound baths, and just for so everybody can imagine it, it's Good Vibes Sound Bath. So you may have seen it on Instagram. We have over 350 million views, which is unbelievable. But people see this and just, I need this in my life, and fly from all over the world. We're so grateful for the attendance that we've had here in the Coachella Valley. Um, the what people come off of the float and feel. I mean, the expressions on their faces, the tears coming out of their eyes, it's so transformative. And it really does speak loudly to the power of vibrational healing. And sound therapy is used in medical equipment. It's used in so many different modalities, that, and it started right with someone taking an instrument and putting it on material and creating sound. And so it's amazing to see sound healing through vibrational bowls, and other mindful activities getting the spotlight and so many people embracing it. There was a great article in the LA Times that talked about the number of churches who are opening their doors to sound bath healing. And that's like, oh my gosh, that's fantastic. That's really opening the eyes of some Catholic cathedrals and their constituents to say, gosh, there might be something to this.
Oh my God, that makes me so happy. I love
Yeah,
that. Well, one of the things that I thought was so unique about it, because I've done it a couple times, and I didn't think about the resonance of the laying on this raft, right? So the sound vibrates the raft to a certain extent, and that adds to the resonance of the thing. And then the water, how the
exactly.
water ripples, and so it was a multi-layered, multi-dimensional experience that was so
Right.
much bigger than any of the other sound baths that I had done, where I was just laying on a mat or on the ground or whatever. So really incredible. And I really highly recommend it if anybody has an opportunity to try it, because I've taken a couple friends that just kind of blew their mind, even ones that didn't really consider, they thought it was pretty woo woo when I told them about it. But when they got there, they were like, oh my gosh, sign me up. How can I do this more often? So
Yes,
very,
and
very,
it
very
is
cool.
the not just the vibrational sound, but the addition of the air in the mattress and the water that really makes it a very immersive experience. And you're wrapped in a blanket, and all of it just comes together to make you feel cocooned. And it is pretty magical. And yes, we'll be announcing. Let's see, you can always go to goodvibesoundbath.com and see our dates, because we will be announcing them throughout the year. So excited for that.
Yeah. And you kind of got to get them in advance, I've learned, because they sell
Yes,
out quick.
they do sell out quickly.
So one of the things that's unique to our environment here out in the desert is we do have a pretty big base of aging population, right? Everybody knows the desert to kind of be a little bit of an retirement community. And is there anything that you have seen, maybe in terms of what people need to be thinking about? I know that sometimes we get to a certain time in our life and we're a little bit more resistant to change. But there are, what have you seen in terms of our community, in terms of maybe things that you're seeing people embrace that you'd be surprised that they've embraced, or maybe something on the other side of that, maybe something that you think the aging population needs to be taking more seriously? Anything coming to mind about that?
Yeah, I think that the communal element, and we're very fortunate here for our aging population that we have so many active community centers and so many active communities,
Golf
and
courses.
yeah, golf course communities or what have you, that
Pickleball.
so many. My mom and my aunt live down the hall from each other in a 55 plus community that's not around a golf course, but it has 20 activities a day. But it gets people to continue to move, to interact with others. Line dancing, that's the greatest one I've seen lately, because it's such the craze here, and all ages are getting out and line dancing, and that is just so fun to see. But yeah, staying active. And that's one of the reasons I think that we were chosen by the Blue Zones, is because our community of seniors continues to pickleball and golf and ride bikes and to continue to be active. And the great thing is that if you understand the power of your plate, then those aches and pains that naturally come with aging, you think, start going away, right? It all comes down to what you put in your mouth as to how good you're going to feel to go line dancing when you're 91.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I have to get better at that. I like to dance, so it comes up with like movements, and I all of a sudden have two left feet. So maybe I need to join one of those classes near me. Lauren, what have we not covered? Is there anything else that we should be commenting on or making a point about? I am constantly reading your articles, and you've always got good stuff coming through the publication, but is there any other thing for this point of this summit that we should make sure we're talking about?
Yeah, I'd like to share why I'm so passionate about it. Before we moved to the desert, we lived on a ranch up in Gilroy, and Burger King was my favorite restaurant. I had no real grasp or concept of what I should be eating, nor did I care. I was very active, and I just didn't think about it. Moved down to the desert and really entrenched myself into health locally. And that's when I discovered how big the natural health community here is locally, and came up with the idea of a medium that would promote both the natural and medical communities together here locally. Um, Fast forward 8 years, and I developed breast cancer. And it takes that long for breast cancer to develop. So I do blame my previous life. But instead of going with the traditional standard of care, I found cryoablation for breast cancer. So I was diagnosed in December. This was 2018, I believe. Yes. And before I had my cryoablation therapy in April, 3 months, I was meeting with my naturopathic doctor, and she put me on a strict nutritional and lifestyle plan. Wasn't only food, but it was food, it was supplementation, it was changing my life to bring it down a notch, relief, stress, etc. And when I got on that table for my procedure in April, my tumor had shrunk 50%.
Whoa.
I said, no, this is impossible. You need to measure it again. I'm getting ready for my procedure. And they're like, well, excuse me. I was like, no, it's this big. I know. And they said, no, it's not. And I thought, my goodness, I was able to shrink a tumor 50% just on making nutrition and lifestyle changes. And I had already been gluten-free, dairy-free, but it was doing more. It was cutting out animal protein. It was cutting out coffee. It was cutting out alcohol, which I hadn't. And so it was pretty wowing for me personally. And that's why I'm so passionate about this, because I have firsthand seen. And here I am now, going on 8 years later, and I'm cancer free, and the cryoablation worked well for me. So that was an integrative plan that I went through with my therapies, and I encourage that for everyone. But you got to do it. You got to do it. The power of the plate. Understand what nutrition can do, and embrace how good nutrition can make you feel. Might take a while, but stick with it. And that concept, that was another question you asked about. Eating healthy is boring, and it will change around as soon as you start loving and giving your body what you need.
It's so true. Thank you for sharing that story, Lauren. It's so inspiring to hear. I think we all need to hear more about the power and how good examples of what can happen when you really embrace what your body needs and just listen to your body, right? Just really be friends with your body, love your body, and it's a beautiful relationship. And I'm so appreciative of that. I'm so appreciative of you. Thank you so much for joining us for this summit.
You as well, Delphine. And thank you for creating this community of Harmoneum, because it's an honor to be a part, and everybody should get involved, and the movement is growing, and I'm just honored to be a part of it and to know you, my friend.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And for anybody who wants to find out more about food as medicine, the article, and also just about health news, because Desert Health has so many beautiful articles every week. I'm always looking, every month, every other month is the new articles, but beautiful stuff. So how can people find that?
Yes, and it is open to the world at deserthealthnews.com. And we have 15 years of fantastic editorial on our website, and you can subscribe to our e-newsletter, and we only send out that notification when the new edition arrives. So to keep you up with the latest and greatest. And we've got some of the best integrative and functional medicine docs here locally, as well as one of the biggest concentrations of naturopathic doctors in the country. So these are the folks contributing to make Desert Health what it is. So please enjoy, and thank you for joining us. DesertHealthNews.com.
All right. Well, we'll end there. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
We're so grateful you joined us for this episode of Delphine Circle. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, and share. And for even more connection, sign up for a free community membership at harmoneum.com. See you there.